Well, it's turning out to be a pretty tough time to be a bureaucrat at the Department of Justice. For decades, most of us didn't really know what they did over at DOJ. Uphold the law, that's all we knew. But now, sunlight is pouring into that agency, and we're learning a lot. Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein, for example, has been caught threatening congressional staffers with subpoenas for trying to do their job, overseeing his agency. Meanwhile, tomorrow, DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz will release his report on the Hillary Clinton email investigation. It could shine a harsh light on a number of key players in that probe. What exactly can we expect from it? Joining us now is Glenn Greenwald. He's an editor at The Intercept, and he joins us from Rio. Glenn, thanks a lot for coming on. So what are we likely to see in tomorrow's IG report?
The focus is the behavior of the FBI and also the Justice Department as part of the 2016 elections, particularly the investigation of possible criminality relating to Hillary Clinton's private email server. There are, I think, a consensus of reports that suggest that they intend to, the report will lambast Jim Comey, the then FBI director, Andrew McCabe, his deputy, as well as criticize then Attorney General Loretta Lynch. But it could cut both ways because a lot of the criticism of Comey came from Democrats that particularly he should never have stood up at that press conference in mid-2016 and when he announced that there wouldn't be charges brought against Hillary Clinton and then proceed to criticize her for what she did. That's not the role of the FBI director. It's also possible that they'll conclude that there was political bias in the whole process that led to the decision not to charge Hillary Clinton in the first place. So it's unclear who politically it will help, but it's certainly going to reflect, by all accounts, very poorly on top Justice Department and FBI officials.
Well, he shouldn't have criticized Hillary Clinton. I said so at the time. I mean, I'm not a Hillary Clinton voter, but that is absolutely not his role. If she committed a crime, indict her. If she didn't, back off. I'm very struck by the reaction to this story in the press. The default seems to be you don't have a right, A, to know what your government is doing, and B, to press too hard to find out there's something wrong with you. You're unpatriotic. Why wouldn't the press be more interested in knowing what actually happens at DOJ?
This has been, of course, I think the principal defect with the media for many years, which is that they so closely identify with the very government agencies that they claim to be serving as watchdog over, that they more often than not end up defending their prerogatives and their secrecy powers and what it is that they do, rather than trying to do their job, which is to shine a light on what it is that they're doing. Obviously, like every agency, the Justice Department does occasionally have legitimate secrecy issues when they're conducting a criminal investigation or being involved with a grand jury. It's legitimate that the public should know, really, to protect the people they're investigating, right? Because you don't want their name being smeared until there's evidence that they've actually done anything wrong. But when you're talking about something as politically momentous as Jim Comey's investigation of the two major presidential candidates, once the election is over, and at least in Hillary Clinton's case, the investigation has been brought to an end, we ought to know everything about what they did internally and what they said. And yet I think you're right. Not only is there very little interest on the part of the media, there's almost this anger at those people who want to actually bring transparency to what the people with the most powerful authorities in the world to read through your emails, to look at your phone bills, to make you say things, actually did. And I think that's very problematic.
Yeah, it's deeply revealing of them. And quickly, you've covered this stuff for a long time. When the truth finally comes to light, how often have you noticed that information you weren't allowed to see because it was classified and held back in the interest of the safety of the United States of America turned out to be, not classified at all? This was just butt covering by whatever agency was withholding it.
In the overwhelming majority of cases, when the government claims that things must be kept secret because of national security, one of two things is true. Either the information is incredibly banal and isn't even arguably the kind of information that ought to be kept from the American people, or the reason they want to keep it secret is not to protect national security, but to shield their own reputations and potentially their own legal interests because they were engaged in secret wrongdoing. And in a healthy democracy, the presumption should be the people should know what their government is doing and the government should know what the people are doing, and we've reversed that so we know almost nothing about what they do and they know everything about what we do, and that's really, really disturbing.
Totally true. That's almost worth getting a tattoo of that. It's so true. Glenn Greenwald, thank you. Glenn Greenwald is not only one of the most honest commenters on American politics, he's also deeply committed to dogs and runs a dog shelter out of his house. And so we're going to talk to him about that in great detail in the next Inside the Issues special later this summer. Stay tuned for that.